Welcome to the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Here's John and Heidi.
Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Fabulous. It's a Monday. Holy cow. The 9th. Tomorrow's the 10th. Tomorrow will be 10-10. I'm excited about that. I always like those days like that.
I know you
like
do.
9,
You're
9,
weird.
10-10. 13-13. Oh, wait, that never happens. But I've got a guest coming up today. Nomadland. That's the name of a book. Jessica Bruder is the author. It's called Nomadland, Surviving America in the 21st Century. And I'm excited to chat. It's about people who are living on the road, getting RVs and just, going out and traveling. So I'm looking forward to chatting with her more about that. Today is Monday the 9th. I got a quote for the day from Chief Seattle. It says, all things share the same breath. The beast, the trees, the man, the air shares its spirit with all the life it supports. Chief Seattle said that. And today is Indigenous People Day, which we'll get to in a bit because we get a lot of things going on today. We'll tell you all about that before you know it.
John and Heidi.
Are you paying a bundle to the cable company? Cut the cable and save with the all-new ChannelSurferTV.com. We've added several solutions that could save you money every month. We have dish TV options and internet TV solutions that start from just $20 a month. We even have an HD TV antenna for $30 to get the local channels with no monthly fee. Learn more at ChannelSurferTV.com. We'll do our very best to find the perfect TV solution for you. ChannelSurferTV.com. Movies and TV with a low monthly fee. That's ChannelSurferTV.com.
John and Heidi.
Today is a special day, Heidi. Do you know what today is?
What is today, John?
Well, some places it's Columbus Day, and other places it's Indigenous People Day.
Okay.
So, and there's other places where they call it Native American Day. So it's one of those. So whichever one of those you celebrate. It's also Beer and Pizza Day. I know which one Heidi's celebrating.
Both.
It's Leif Erikson Day today.
I have a shirt that says beer and pizza on.
See, there you go. You got to wear that today.
I do.
Beer and Pizza Day. National Chess Day today. National Online Banking Day. National Pro-Life Cupcake Day. What? Pro-Life Cupcake Day. I have to check into that. Do they have pro-choice cupcakes and pro-life cupcakes? I didn't know there was a... I don't know. I have to check into that. If they do, I choose... cupcakes. It's National Kick Butt Day today as well. So if you've been trying to quit smoking, today is the day. It is also Nautilus Night tonight and World Post Day today. So I don't know what that is, but I think we're all supposed to post something about it on our social media. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, get out there and celebrate one of those. I'm going to celebrate the beer and pizza and cupcake thing. Sounds yummy.
John and Heidi.
Here's Luca from Luca's Boutique. Tell us about the items we'll find at Luca's Boutique.
We have 100% Italian design and Italian made leather goods, artisanally made by artisans, for example, that are commissioned by Gucci, Prada to make bags. We use the same artisans because we know them.
You'll love the fine Italian styles at Luca's Boutique. Leather purses, belts, and more. Learn more at fineitalianstyles.com.
This is Luca from Luca's Boutique, and we have fine Italian styles.
fineitalianstyles.com.
John and Heidi.
Coming up, we've got some fun stuff to get to. Our Brain on Drugs, that's on the way. But first, a group of Russian hackers have stolen the NSA cyber defense data. Well, that's not good.
That is not good.
Here's my thing that I don't understand, though. How do they know it's Russian hackers? And I'm not trying to say that it's not. I'm just trying to say, how do they know that?
They get blamed for everything.
I was going to say that. It just seems like Russia has been blamed for a lot of stuff lately. It's like,
I feel bad
Russia
for them a little bit.
I mean, the other day there was a kid that didn't get his homework done. It's like, it's Russia's fault. I mean, it's just everything. Lately, it's like, again, doesn't it just seem weird?
It does.
I feel like we're back to the 80s. Remember back in the 80s, it was
Yeah.
like Russia was the bad guys. Well, now, even though they had like 30 years off from being the bad guys, all of a sudden Russia's the bad guys again. Russia did it. Okay, well, we'll just trust you. Okay. Coming up, we've got your Brain on Drugs.
John and Heidi.
Each day at this time, we talk about people doing dumb things under the influence, but addiction is no laughing matter. If you or someone you know needs help, there's a toll-free number you can call.
1-800-438-0380.
That's the Addiction Hope and Helpline.
1-800-438-0380.
And this is your Brain on Drugs. Sin Chang Hong, age 53, got pulled over for speeding while driving a truck. This is the interesting thing. carrying 3,100 pounds of pot.
Oh.
Yeah, Hong was pulled over in Colorado, which, you'd think, hey, they do that there, don't they? Well, it's not the way it works, though. The arresting officer said he smelled pot. When he asked Hong if he had pot, he responded just a little. The officer did not believe that, began searching, and revealed what could be a local record-breaking haul of fresh marijuana buds.
Whoa.
3,100 pounds in 87 giant trash bags. Hong and his 49-year-old passenger Larry Tran were arrested on suspicion of possession with the intent to distribute marijuana, a Class 1 drug felony. So there you go.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So even in a state where now marijuana is legal, there are still people buying it illegally. I don't understand that.
It's cheaper, probably.
Is it cheaper? I don't know. Again, I just don't. I'm not even going to pretend to know how all this stuff works. So I do have a link to this story on our Facebook page. And if you do know how it all works and you can explain it to me, that'd be a great place to do it. Facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Now, big screen, little screen for this Monday. I'm actually kind of excited about this. I don't know that it's going to happen, but it says here, 68-year-old George Foreman. Know him, right?
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
He was a boxer.
The little grill guy.
I knew you were going to say that. Before he had the George Foreman grill, which is one of the most popular household appliances ever, by the way.
We don't have one
I know, we
anymore.
did. We had one.
We never used it.
Well, we used it like 5 times. 68-year-old George Foreman, before he was the grill guy, he was a boxer. He was a world heavyweight champion of the world. Anyway, he's challenged 65-year-old Steven Seagal to a 10-round fight that would take place in Las Vegas later this year.
Are you kidding?
No. Odds makers say Foreman would be the favorite to win, but I got to say Seagal has better hair. George doesn't have any hair, so that was an easy one.
I cannot believe that.
I think it would
That
be
is
really cool.
super dangerous. They're way too old to be doing that
68-year-old
stuff.
George Foreman, 65-year-old Steven Seagal, and everybody would be, a 10-round fight. Yeah, like they're going to go 10 rounds.
Oh, my
You never know.
gosh.
Maybe they could. Anyway, another person in the news here, Bob Seger, has revealed that he is postponing his U.S. tour due to vertebrae issues. So
Oh, that's too
we saw
bad.
Bob Seger a few
We
years
have
back.
seen
It was a
Seeger.
really good show. This has been your big screen, little screen. Neither of those had to do with movies or TV. Why was that our big screen, little screen? I don't know. Anyway,
I don't know.
brought to you by ChannelSurferTV.com.
John and Heidi.
Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to uncontrollable bleeding and even death. If you've been prescribed one of these drugs and have experienced these dangerous side effects, you may be entitled to substantial compensation. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. Call 800-430-8328. 800-430-8328. Drug Watch Hotline is a marketing firm that represents lawyers jointly advertising their services. By calling Drug Watch Hotline, you agree to receive calls by legal service providers.
John and Heidi.
Now your scoop of the day. A survey by the New York Post found that 50% of Americans would not pay a nickel to help fight climate change. So not a nickel. Take another 50% of Americans probably wouldn't pay a nickel for many, many, many things if you called them and asked them on the phone. Would you help with this? No. A Pew Research survey found that only 5% of the media coverage of President Trump is positive. So 95% of the media coverage is negative.
That's ridiculous.
New York Bakery is charging $20 for a loaf of bread. It's a lot of dough for a loaf of bread, but it's apparently a really special loaf of bread.
It must be.
$20 for a loaf of bread. Detroit police are now offering a cash reward to get people to tip them off about drug dealers. So they say, snitches get stitches. Well, in Detroit, snitches get riches. See what we did there?
I see what you did there.
The Venezuelan government may solicit Russian military help to counter the U.S. presence in their region. It's kind of an interesting thing. The Venezuelan government is saying, hey, we're sick and tired of the United States snooping on us. Meanwhile, all of our stories are talking about supposed Russia snooping on the United States. In Venezuela, they're going, hey, yeah, we have a problem with people from outside coming here and doing stuff to us, and it's the U.S. So they're asking Russia to help them. It's like this big, gigantic triangle. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. North Korea's in the news. Well, they're never in the news. Oh, wait, no, they're always in the news. Well, they're expected to test another nuke
He
today.
better be careful.
Yeah, he wants to test this today. It coincides with the country's anniversary of being founded in 1945. So their founded anniversary and their losted anniversary could all be today. So
You better be careful.
that's a dangerous deal.
You bet.
Oscar-winning producer Harvey Weinstein says he's going to sue the New York Times for $50 million because they accused him of sexually harassing dozens of actresses over the past 2 decades.
Who?
Weinstein, Harvey Weinstein, he's an Oscar-winning producer.
I have no clue who that is.
Well, because you are not
I am not cultured.
sophisticated.
I'm an uncultured swine.
Well, there you go. I was going to say that, but it just sounds bad coming from me. A Los Angeles street artist has posted signs around town picking on Jimmy Kimmel. Have you seen all of these?
I saw those. I liked those.
That actually,
they were really funny.
This should have been part of my big screen, little screen. I don't know how this got down here. And then there's another one here. NBC is reportedly discussing ways to boost Megyn Kelly's morning show ratings. It's been on for a couple weeks, and I guess they've just tanked. So they're talking about different ideas on how they could get people to tune in and watch Megyn Kelly.
I don't think anybody likes her anymore.
Well, there are somebody. I'm sure her mom probably does. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure her mom does.
Music news here. Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards has listed his New York City apartment for $12 million. Can
you imagine having to pay $12 million for an apartment?
I can't. I don't understand.
I don't understand why anybody would want to do that. I don't get it. I really do not understand the whole New York City attraction, living in that big, huge city.
And it's so expensive. I just can't.
Yeah.
Hey, the internet is amazing for so many things, Heidi. You can go online and find almost anything. And one of the things people love about the internet is if you're going to purchase something, you can read reviews about it ahead of time, right?
Right.
So you're going, I don't know, which, even like this right here, a mouse for your computer. Which mouse do I want?
Right.
There's so many of them out there. Which one?
Which one is the
using
best?
that as an example because it happens to be in my right hand. But I'm just using it as an example. So if you're going to buy something, do you think you need a review for everything? Like, how about a fork? Yeah. A regular old fork. There is literally a thing called Fork Review on Instagram. I've got a link to it. It's actually really funny, and I never thought about it before, but there are times that I've used forks that I really like, and there are times that I'll go to a restaurant and I'll use a fork, and I'm like, what a weird fork. I don't like this fork. And there's a whole Instagram page.
You know who has weird forks that I don't like?
Who's on?
Outback.
Oh, really? What's with their
Outback
forks?
Steakhouse. They've got those stupid three-prong forks.
There's some pictures of three-prong forks. Anyway, if you want to check it out, if you're bored today on a Monday, you're
really
like,
bored.
Some people got the day
You
off.
want to read about forks.
I'm stuck here. Well, guess what? You're in luck. Because there's a page all about forks, and I've got a link to it because that's the kind of thing we do here at Facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Your credit score really matters when it comes to credit cards, home loans, and car loans. It makes a big difference in whether or not you qualify for the best rates or even get the loan. But did you know that your credit score can also affect the price when you get your insurance too? Many people never even check their credit score, but sadly, errors happen all the time. CreditRepair800.com would like to help you repair your credit and make sure you have the best possible credit score. Get the details on how our program works at CreditRepair800.com. That's CreditRepair800.com.
Thank you for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We got a special guest joining us today. We have the author of a book called Nomadland, Surviving America in the 21st Century, Jessica Bruder. She's a journalist, and she's got a really fun book. I think this seems like a really neat idea. Jessica, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
Fantastic. What a cool idea for a book. So you kind of got a chance to go and live on the road for a while. How long were you living on the road during the writing of the book Nomadland?
Sure. So it was on and off. This was a 3-year project, but I would spend just big chunks of time on the road and then kind of come back home to process. So I think the longest chunk I did at any one time was 2 months, but then I'd go out again for 3 months. 3 weeks, a month. Just lots of bits and pieces, and then come home and try to cobble them all together.
And while you were traveling, you had a chance to meet a lot of people who spend a lot of time on the road. Some of them spend all of their time traveling, don't they?
Yeah, most of the people I interviewed do. They've gone full-time nomadic, and they're out there in secondhand RVs and vans and a few sedans and travel trailers. And yep, they're out there.
And now, what is it typically that gets somebody to the point where they say, I'm going to do this? Is this something they do when they retire, or is this something they're doing and finding work around the country? Why are they traveling around and living on the road like this?
Sure. Well, it's funny, RVing has traditionally been the province of older RVs who might have a fat pension and want to tootle around and see the country and enjoy that sort of leisure. And I used to assume when I saw an RVer on the road that was what it meant to be an RVer. But times have changed quite a bit. In the aftermath of the Great Recession, so many people lost whatever equity they might have had in their homes. They lost 401ks. They found out that it was just really hard to get a job paying a living wage in a market where ageism often plays a great factor. So for a lot of people, it became a big challenge to maintain this kind of traditional trapping of what a middle-class life looked like, which included a traditional stick-and-brick home. And because housing is the biggest cost for most of us, some of them said, well, heck, if I've got to choose something to give up, this might be it.
And the thing that's really interesting is I've seen a trend where people are doing the tiny houses, and there are people that are, doing more of this downscaling and downsizing and living, instead of living large, kind of living small. And that goes hand in hand with living in an RV and maybe hitting the road. Do you see kind of an interesting combination of the two as well, where some of these people maybe would be kind of the same folks that would do the tiny house concept?
Yeah, so absolutely. There's an aesthetic overlap for sure. And I think a lot of what's missing in the current dialogue of tiny houses as a movement is people are really looking at the style component, but there's also a pretty heavy economic component that often goes overlooked, which is, again, we are in a culture where wages have been flat and traditional housing costs have been going up, and that just creates an untenable situation. We also have tons of student debt in this country, credit card debt, medical debt, people who are not prepared to retire, who find Social Security inadequate for living the way they used to live. So I think it's a mix of embracing minimalism, but also because the opportunities that many people have had have shifted and not been quite what they expected to encounter at whatever stage of life they've reached.
Again, visiting right now, Jessica Bruder. She's a journalist, and she's also the author of a new book called Nomadland, Surviving America in the 21st Century. So during your travels, I'm assuming you met a lot of fun and interesting people, but can you tell us a story about at least one fun and interesting person we're going to learn about in the book?
Sure. I mean, the main person I follow around is this woman named Linda May, and Linda was really stuck on the low-wage treadmill. She was working the register at Home Depot, a job she was seriously overqualified for. She was making very little money, and she couldn't even get the shift she wanted. I mean, it's so hard these days with advances in shift scheduling software for people to get a regular and full shift. And she just couldn't imagine what would happen because since she'd always made fairly low wages, she hadn't been able to put much away for retirement, as is the case with most Americans, unfortunately, and said, oh my gosh, I'm going to be doing this job on this treadmill until the day I die. And I'm never going to be able to live differently. I'm never going to be able to have any more autonomy. I'm going to be stuck living in this landlocked trailer, funneling all my wages into rent, and that's here till the end of time. And Linda didn't want that. Linda had some other ideas, so that's how she discovered this community of people on wheels and started learning about what her options were, how she could buy a very inexpensive secondhand RV and fix it up and go out there and actually find jobs, actually enter a mobile workforce where ageism wasn't really a big deal. In fact, they're recruiting these people to do all sorts of jobs all over the country.
Well, my former banker is living in the same exact lifestyle. It was interesting. When he retired, our former banker, super nice guy, we love him dearly, he retired, and he and his wife live in an RV, and they travel the country, and he actually helps other people because he repairs RVs at the RV parks. That's what he does now. And I was like, he retired from a life of banking to go do that, and I remember just how much he lit up when he was telling us, this is what I'm doing in my retirement. I was like, that is awesome.
That's fantastic. That's a lot better than some of the jobs I see people doing out there, too. I mean, I've met people, I met a guy in the 70s who'd worked in copper mines all his life, and then I met him when I was undercover at a Amazon warehouse in Hazlet, Texas, where people are doing pick and pack on the night shift in the months up till Christmas, which is a pretty strenuous job.
Yeah.
So it's not all sunshine and roses, but, this is a generation that really bucks up and gets it done. I think that's why employers like them so much. They show up, they don't complain, they work hard. I also worry that may make them a little bit vulnerable to exploitation. But they're out there, and they're making a go of it, and there's some really impressive people.
Well, Jessica, thank you for doing what you're doing. I think this is cool. It would have been a great story for a newspaper, but I think it's awesome that you said, hey, I see a book here, and turned it into its own book, Nomadland, Surviving America in the 21st Century. It's available right now wherever fine books are sold. Jessica, thank you again for letting us know about it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And again, Nomadland is the name of the book. It is the subtitle is Surviving America in the 21st century. I've got a link to this to make it really easy to find at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
Are you paying a bundle to the cable company? Cut the cable and save with the all-new ChannelSurferTV.com. We've added several solutions that could save you money every month. We have dish TV options and internet TV solutions that start from just $20 a month. We even have an HD TV antenna for $30 to get the local channels with no monthly fee. Learn more at ChannelSurferTV.com. We'll do our very best to find the perfect TV solution for you. ChannelSurferTV.com. Movies and TV with a low monthly fee. That's ChannelSurferTV.com.
John and Heidi.
Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
New Mexico's first graduating class, this New Mexico State, their first graduating class in 1893 had only one student, and he was shot and killed right before graduation.
Wow.
Tough crowd. That was in 1893, by the way. Fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
In the mid-1980s, Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas, she was the voice of Charlie Brown's sister, Sally.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, so they had little kids back then that were the voices of those characters, and that little kid turned out to be somebody famous when she grew up, which is cool. And our final fun fact for you, Heidi.
What's that, John?
Jonas Salk declined to patent his polio vaccine. He said there is no patent. And he said, could you patent the sun? He was just saying, no. I mean, I want people to have this. Why do we need patents for everything? So he had a polio vaccine that helped save a bunch of people and make people, not get sick and die. And it's cool that he didn't get a patent on it. Just said, I want it out there for free. So there you go. A couple of fun facts brought to you by CreditRepair800.com. That's CreditRepair800.com.
John and Heidi.
Are you struggling with addiction or alcohol problems? If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help, and your insurance may offer coverage.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Call the Addiction Hope and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares. Call 800-438-0380, 800-438-0380.
Now it's time for our word of the day, and it's another weird word, but it's one I've actually heard of before. It's labyrinth. Have you ever heard of that? Labyrinth?
Yes.
And on here, it looks more like it's pronounced labyrinthine. Labyrinthine. See, Thine.
Yeah.
I wonder if we've been saying it wrong all these years. Or maybe it's a different word. It's an adjective marked by intricacy. I think that sometimes the explanations are more difficult than the word. Marked by intricacy. I'm going to try that again.
Intricacy.
You say it again.
Intricacy.
Marked by intricacy. Intricacy. Marked by intricacy. It's very intricate. The telephone voicemail system was so labyrinthine that most people hung up instead of leaving a message. And I agree with that. Labyrinthine must be like a labyrinth.
Yes.
So there you go. Labyrinthine, a word that I'm not going to use, just like that. Let's see. Couple of weird words of the day.
John and Heidi.
Here's Luca from Luca's Boutique. Tell us about the items we'll find at Luca's Boutique.
We have 100% Italian design and Italian made leather goods, artisanally made by artisans, for example, that are commissioned by Gucci, Prada to make bags. We use the same artisans because we know them.
You'll love the fine Italian styles at Luca's Boutique. Leather purses, belts, and more. Learn more at fineitalianstyles.com.
This is Luca from Luca's Boutique, and we have fine Italian styles.
fineitalianstyles.com.
John and Heidi.
Now, some weird news from the state of Minnesota, where a man was arrested for reckless driving when he was doing motorcycle stunts on a highway dressed as a panda. What? Yeah. State troopers spotted a man/panda speeding down Interstate 394. He was doing all kinds of stunts, included driving with no hands, and he was wearing a giant stuffed panda head instead of a helmet. Why did he do it, you might ask? Guess what he told the cops?
What's that?
Hey, I'm trying to go viral. Yeah, he had friends recording him do this. He was arrested for reckless driving. The troopers confiscated his panda suit. Can you imagine just sitting in your front yard and seeing some dude drive by on a motorcycle doing a wheelie wearing a panda suit.
That would be awesome, actually.
So maybe it's time to move, Margaret. This neighborhood is getting weird. I just can't even imagine how bizarre that would be. Just some dude rolling by on a motorcycle wearing a panda outfit, doing a wheelie. I mean, that's
that would
just
be very cool.
Only in Minnesota or, around here, I suppose, or anywhere really, because we're all getting kind of weird these days. A little bit of weird news right there, brought to you by radiosavings.com. Now, your moment of duh. Kat Gallagher has a botched eyeball tattoo that left her with blurry vision in her eye and purple discharge coming from it. Yuck, that just sounds disgusting.
Well, first of all, you have that coming. You're going to go and get a tattoo on your eyeball.
Yeah, she's from Ottawa, Canada. She decided to get an eyeball tattoo so she could, quote, feel more at home in my body, end quote.
Okay.
But never imagined it would end up costing her vision. To date, she has now had to spend hundreds of dollars on prescriptions to relieve the swelling and the pain. Doctors told Gallagher that she's an idiot. No, that's not what they told her. That's what they should have told her. No, what they did tell her is that her eye has been permanently affected and her vision could go completely or could just stay a blurry mess. She remains hopeful that surgery could prevent her condition from becoming even worse, maybe even repair the damage. If you'd like to read that story, hopefully without blurry vision, you can see that on our Facebook page. I do not have any eye tattoos, and I won't be starting that anytime soon. Facebook.com/John and Heidi Show is where we find that story.
John and Heidi.
Your credit score really matters when it comes to credit cards, home loans, and car loans. It makes a big difference in whether or not you qualify for the best rates or even get the loan. But did you know that your credit score can also affect the price when you get your insurance too? Many people never even check their credit score, but sadly, errors happen all the time. CreditRepair800.com would like to help you repair your credit and make sure you have the best possible credit score. Get the details on how our program works at CreditRepair800.com. That's CreditRepair800.com.
Coming up, we're going to get some good news, but first, take a listen to this. Not so good news. Yahoo, the internet company out there that was acquired by Verizon, they believe that a 2013 security breach that they already knew about, they think that it may have affected all 3 billion of their users.
Whoa.
Heidi over here is a Yahoo girl, so you were breached, Heidi, in 2013, and you didn't even know it.
If somebody wants to steal my identity, that's perfectly
Wait a minute.
fine.
Now that I think about it, are you the real Heidi, or are you some hacker? How do I know for sure?
Nobody wants my identity. I'm not worried about it at all.
Well, we do have some good news to get to. That's coming up. Thanks for listening to The John and Heidi Show.
John and Heidi.
This portion of The John and Heidi Show is brought to you by The John and Heidi Show. That sounds kind of funny, but it's true. Go to your local radio station and ask them to start carrying The John and Heidi Show. Here's the best part. They can carry the show for free. They play a couple commercials, but it doesn't cost them anything every month. So if you know a radio station that could use a little bit of help, send them our way. Send them to johnandheidishow.com. Again, johnandheidishow.com. We would love to do a radio program in your community. Then you could listen to the podcast and listen to us on the radio.
John and Heidi.
We always like to wrap things up around here with some good news, and I've got some good news, Heidi. You probably have heard this story because you sent this to me.
I did send it to you.
By the way, thank you, Heidi, for sending me
welcome.
some good news. Also, the other folks that have been sending stuff, thank you for sending me cool stuff. Here's our good news for today. The headline says, homeless and unwanted his whole life, he meets his biological sister, then he meets her family. Seth Miller, Rockwell, Texas. He was put up for adoption as a toddler, and then he was placed with a family for adoption back then, but it didn't go well. It was an awful experience, a failed adoption. He was later put into foster care. So that's kind of a sad situation.
Yeah, it is.
He spent the next decade in and out of foster homes, struggling to make the best of it, and he had these empty feelings that were eating away at him over the years. And then he aged out. He turned 19. And the adoption system said, while he was still in high school, they said, well, you're on your own. We don't have a place for you. And, kind of makes you wonder how hard he was trying to get along with these families, because you'd think at least one of the families would have worked out, you'd hope. And USA Today did a story with him. They said, how did you feel when that happened? He said, empty and alone with nowhere to kind of fit in, just an everyday kind of life with nothing to look forward to. But then, here's the thing that's really cool. Things changed. What changed? He had the opportunity to meet, because of the help of a court-appointed special advocate. They started looking through the files, and he found that he had his biological sister out there somewhere.
Right.
And he had the chance to meet her, Shyla Hunt. And the thing that was really cool is she said, hey, I would like you to meet the family that adopted me.
Right.
So they all got together. He had a nice little reuniting with his sister and got to meet the family. And that family has now kind of brought him in and made him part of the family, too. How cool is that?
That's very cool.
I think it's really neat. And they made it official. So there's in front of a judge here. And about a year later, they all got together and made the adoption official. He's 19 years old and being
awesome.
adopted.
I think that's so great.
Do you think they'll adopt us? I'm in my 40s. Is it too late? Anyway, if you'd like to check this out, I've got a link to this story, and it's a really cool story. And he finally found his forever family. And I've got a link to the story at facebook.com/John and Heidi Show. Time to say goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, Heidi.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for listening to the John and Heidi Show on a Monday.
Time now for a bonus break on the John and Heidi Show podcast.
John and Heidi.
Thank you so much for listening to the John and Heidi Show. We got a special guest joining us right now, Kent Hartman, and he's got a book. It's a new book called Goodnight L.A., The Rise and Fall of Classic Rock, The Untold Story from Inside the Legendary Recording Studios. And we've got Kent on the line right now. Kent, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you.
Now, we were just chatting a little bit ahead of time here, and you said that this actually has kind of a fun connection to the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, doesn't it?
Yes, actually, Goodnight L.A. is all about the recording industry, in Los Angeles in the 1970s and early 80s. Classic rock, behind-the-scenes stuff. And one of the main characters in the book is a famous producer named Keith Olsen, who actually grew up in Sioux Falls.
That's really cool. So, for all the Sioux Falls folks listening, you guys might even know this guy. That's
yeah,
really neat.
or if you have albums that you want to pull out, he produced Santana and Foreigner and Fleetwood Mac and the Grateful Dead and the Scorpions and Eddie Money and the Babies and Sammy Hagar, on and on and on.
Well, you just kind of mentioned almost every one of those are albums that we have, so that's cool. That's very, very cool. Now, the book Goodnight L.A., The Rise and Fall of Classic Rock, The Untold Story from Inside the Legendary Recording Studios. How long did you work on putting this together, Kent?
Well, two years to research and write, and about another 10 years out of my life.
It's always fun to me to find out how much time people put in this, because when we sit down to read your book, it's going to take us maybe a week or whatever to read it, but I always just like to let people know that this is years of a person being passionate about this subject. So thank you very much for devoting that time and energy and effort to telling this story.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure, though, because this story had to be told. There's never been what I consider to be the definitive book about 1970s and early 80s classic rock from the perspective of being in the studios with these great bands in L.A.
And think about some of the talent that went through that studio and some of the fun things that happened in that studio and some of the things that the average Joe might not ever know about, but now they can find out because of this book.
Right. I mean, there's stories in there about how Carlos Santana had to have a guru listen to every one of his songs before it was allowed to go on an album. Each song had to have an appropriate level of oneness, or it couldn't go on the record. It drove the producer crazy. There's stories in there about how the first Boston album was not recorded in a regular recording studio as the record label thought, but it was secretly recorded by one guy in a basement of an apartment building.
No kidding.
All by himself, with just only him on the instruments, too. Isn't that amazing?
That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and then, or on the song Rhiannon by Fleetwood Mac about, how Mick Fleetwood really couldn't get the drum pattern down, and so the producer, actually, Keith Olsen from Sioux Falls, had to sit down with a razor blade and cut up the magnetic tape that Mick's drum pattern had been recorded on, cut it up into tiny little pieces, and reassemble it the correct way and turn it into just a big drum loop that plays over and over. So when you hear that song, that's just one big drum loop created by Keith Olsen.
That is crazy. And I can tell you from back in the day, that is not easy to cut and splice tape. That is very difficult. So it's amazing that he was able to do that and make it sound as good as he did.
Yes.
We've got it pretty easy nowadays. You use a mouse, you click a couple of things, and you can cut and paste pretty easy. But back in the day, it was razor blades and tape and a lot of cuts and, a lot of cussing. So it's pretty cool that he was able to do it that way.
Yep.
Well, Kent, thank you again for taking the time to put into this. Now, the book, again, it's called Goodnight L.A., The Rise and Fall of Classic Rock, The Untold Story from Inside the Legendary Recording Studios. It's available right now, and we've got a link to it on our Facebook page to make it really easy for people to find. And we appreciate you taking the time to chat with us about it as well. Now, what's your next project that you're going to be working on, Kent? You have another untold story that you need to tell?
Well, I do, but my publisher won't let me tell you.
Oh, so it's the untold story that we can't talk about yet.
Not yet, but I do want to add that in Goodnight L.A., I have an entire chapter in there about Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Oh, nice.
Some just amazing stories that have never been told before that I got directly from them. So.
Well, that's really cool, and I appreciate you mentioning that. We certainly mourn the loss of one of rock's legends, and really sad to see him go way too soon. And that's one of the things about that rock and roll lifestyle. Very rarely do they live to be, old people. Maybe scratch the Rolling Stones from the list of people that don't, because some of them I'm like, holy cow, they're still touring. But, I look at a lot of rock legends that go way too soon, and it's just so sad to see that happen.
Yes, it surely is.
Well, thank you again for taking the time to chat, sir, and we wish you the very best on this book, and I hope when you're ready to chat about your top secret project you're on right now, keep us in mind. We'd love to chat again.
Okay, thank you.
And again, our guest today, Kent Hartman, and the book is called Goodnight L.A., The Rise and Fall of Classic Rock, The Untold Story from Inside the Legendary Recording Studios. It's available right now at Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and I've got a link to make it really easy so you don't have to go in and try to search and find it. That link is at facebook.com/sunnyradio.